Pydata London, is everyone feeling alive and awake this Sunday morning? Woo! I always hate when people come in on day 3 of a conference and they're like, right, big energy, come on. I know you're tired, but let's do it. So today we have some super exciting lightning talks. I am doing the usual dance of slides here to try and get that to show. But whilst I do, we are, there we go, perfect, cool. So we have lots of lightning talks today. We're gonna get through as many as we can. The rules are the same as ever. You have 5 minutes to speak, no Q&A, but do grab people for a chat afterwards. Today we're going to try something where for each speaker, I'm going to set a 5-minute timer, and as they hit the end of 5 minutes, I'm going to hold up my hand, and I'm going to ask all of you nice people to start clapping very quietly. So let's practice now. Little tiny clap, very small clap. Perfect. No, too big, smaller. Cool. So then the speaker will know that it's time for them to wrap things up. And they will finish their last sentence, and when they do, thunderous applause, big clap, there we go. Sunday morning. Perfect. So I think we're all ready to go.
Morning, everyone. So super high energy today, and I'm here to invite you to a great event in Pydata Amsterdam. So I have plenty of reasons to convince you to go there as well. So save the date, September 10th and 11, where in the beautiful Amsterdam North in a huge, amazing venue called NDSM. Now, why you should go to this event? So if you have been joining Pydata London, we also have the Amsterdam version, right, with great talks, amazing keynote speakers. So far, we had great weather. But in the worst case, we have a mild British-ish weather, so you will feel like home, right? Amazing network, good food, and one more reason to go. We also have great discount, so please, I make it easy for you. There is a QR code here for our early bird tickets. And if you need more convincing, please talk to me after the lightning talks. And here is the amazing team organizing the Pydata Amsterdam. So stick with us on LinkedIn, Luma, our website. And if I forgot to tell you, I make it easy, a QR code for the early bird tickets. Also, if you would like to be a volunteer, go to our website, the form is there. And yeah, I hope to see you in September in beautiful Amsterdam.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk here. So I'm here to elaborate on my hobby project and see maybe it resonates with some of you. So I started deep diving into scikit-learn for the first time about 4 years ago. And as a beginner, I was quickly overwhelmed by the amount of moving pieces that library offers. And specifically, when it comes to model hyperparameters, it was just too much. So I really wished I had a dashboarding framework to try different model configurations interactively and see how it reflects on model behavior as well as the metrics. So enter the probavis, that stuff I've been building. So if you navigate that, it's a free open source Streamlit app. All you've got to do is to select the data set, or for the sake of not selecting iris, let's generate our own. Let's put it this way, let's say classification. Let's put 4 classes. Yeah, just your scatter plot with 2 features. And the second thing you need to do is to pick the model. Currently, I'm supporting all of the 26 standalone scikit-learn classifiers. So let's start with logistic regression, as one should. And here we go. It immediately displays the decision boundary. So I'm adding a lot of, learner components. You can expand different expanders to read what the decision boundary represents. So classically, it's try to separate the classes linearly, and the farther away you go from decision boundary, the higher the probability score. That's conveys with the color. Yeah. Also, I'm showing model info. I'm not just spitting the model documentation, also parsing it. I'm substituting Sphinx stuff with proper hyperlinks. So if you click there, you will navigate to the relevant page within the scikit-learn documentation. So let's say, let's pick another model. Let's go with the decision tree. And yes, I picked the model. The hyperparameters below are updated. I tried to implement, I have like 2,500 lines of boilerplate code defining those widgets. I cover all apart from some system one like verbosity or a number of jobs. So let's say by default, maximum depth, it's allowed to grow as deep as it can, so it overfits clearly. So let's set it to like very small depths, let's say just one. So it tries to make a single split to make best segregation of data. Yeah, let's gradually increase it to see how it changes decision boundary display to get an insight. Okay, now it's make 2 more splits, being more efficient. Let's make a couple of more. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, now we have more or less a balanced model. So you see performance and training tested more or less equivalent. Apart from decision boundary, I've got confusion matrices, I've got curves, ROC, precision recall ones. You can, well, zoom out if you like, zoom in rather, and zoom out. And also a bunch of other classification metrics from accuracy to bias scores. And as a cherry on top, I had to add a GenAI component. So here we go, Proba Coach. You don't get to chat with it, but you get to nudge it. So it's not a chatbot, it's a nudge bot. So let's do that. Upon nudging, it basically sends a payload to LLM with the state of the app, mainly on metrics on the 2 subsets, train and test, and tries to give you, a couple of useful tips so you can try. And on a good day, you can even do that. The UI even allow that. So, yes. So right now it still offers suggests to play with the depths of the tree and try other hyperparameters. So maybe if you follow that, it will lead to better model performance. But ultimately, it's here for educational purposes to suggest you things to experiment so you can gain more from the ecosystem provided by scikit-learn. I'm probably gonna wrap up here. Thank you.
Looking forward to giving that a go. Have your duck. And our next speaker is John Sandel.
Hello, everybody. So I am a Pydata London organizer. I've been an organizer for 8 years now across Pydata Bristol and Pydata London. There are many things that we do within the committee, whether it's for the meetup, whether it's for the conference, and there's an amazing team. But one of the things that we don't do enough is build stuff to help ourselves. And yet one of our greatest skills is building things. So what I'm doing is we are creating the Pydata London engineering team, a small open source squad to build the unglamorous tools that keep our meetups and conferences running more smoothly. So just quick question, hands up, how did you hear this conference was on? So put your hands up if it's because you've been here before. Okay, put your hand up if from your local Pydata meetup. Okay, LinkedIn, anybody, put your hands up. Okay, a few of you. Somewhere else online. Okay, a colleague or a work chat, put your hand up. Okay, that's quite a lot, that's good to know. One of the newsletters, Pydata's newsletter, NumFOCUS newsletter, put your hand up. Okay, so this is really cool because this is useful to see. We've never known where you come from on how you know about the conference. We spend a lot of time doing a lot of things, and I've just seen that some of the things we do are not giving any value because some of those things didn't bring anyone into the room, and some of them brought a lot of you into the room. So that's the sort of thing that if you're running a professional marketing or sales data team or analytics team, you would have that visibility, you would have that tracking. I would like to be building more of that sort of thing so that we can use our engagement and awareness activities and target them more effectively. We could just be measuring that if only we were to put the technology in place. And we have the skills, but I would like some of you to try and kind of help me build it. So there are actually lots of shared problems across every single city, from London, Cambridge, Bristol, Cardiff, Manchester, Leeds, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Southampton, Exeter, Cornwall, Bradford, and I'm sorry if I forgot anybody. There's a lot of meetups, and that's just the UK alone. There's conferences and meetups in Amsterdam and Berlin and beyond in Europe. We all have a lot of shared problems. I've met a lot of the other organizers, and we all just reinvent the wheel. We've got like 6 different messaging apps just to talk to each other. We've got a really shared problem about always finding speakers. If you'd like to speak, find your local meetup. They are starving for good speakers. Every single UK meetup I know is looking for speakers. It's one of their biggest problems. Nobody has the time to chase the sponsors. The sponsors also say things like, oh, well, we can sponsor like 50K, we can sponsor all of you at once. So we really need to sort of get together and build some shared infrastructure there, both sort of legally, financially, as well as technologically. There are also just challenges that I have with meetup.com, where it will say things like, you're on the wait list, but if you pay money, then maybe you can go higher, which is a total scam. And I don't like that as open source organizers, we are sort of stuck with SaaS software that is becoming increasingly enshittified, and just it's really, really harmful for people who are coming into our community for the first time. So again, I don't know what we do about that, but maybe there's a technological solution, and again, maybe we can open source whatever that looks like. So I want to build the fixes ourselves. I want to host them for the chapters if we can. I want to start with Pydata London, the meetup, and then look at the conference and what their needs are. Basically working as an open source consultancy, which I'm good at because I run an AI consultancy. I know how to do this sort of thing, understand what the problems are. But I want to hear from you what problems you think you would like to solve. If you'd like to join the Pydata London engineering team, working on one of these problems or something else entirely and doing it right, doing it GDPR, appropriate manners as well, privacy compliant. Whether it's you just want to submit a pull request or actually get involved a couple hours a month, we'll have a bit of a meeting, have a bit of a squad analysis and review, see what we're all up to. And I think the stronger the meetups are, the stronger the conferences get, the bigger the community is, the more support there is for NumFOCUS, the better the ecosystem gets, which means there's more people using this great tooling. So if you'd like to get involved, go to london.pydata.org/engineering, screenshot this or with your phone. Tell people, tell your colleagues. It's a really good thing to do to get into open source. For those of you who are looking at maybe your next job or your current job or just ways to demonstrate your sort of values, again, committing to open source is a really good thing. It looks great on LinkedIn, and it's just you're going to be working with some of the best engineers in this small open source squad. So come and join the Pydata London engineering team. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, I'm Matthew. It's my first lightning talk here. So I'm going to introduce Hypothesis in 5 minutes, which is an impossible task, so I won't really explain it, I'll just show you examples. So Hypothesis is a property-based testing library for Python. What we're going to do is just work on a new function. I think Hypothesis is really beneficial when you're starting out a new idea, new function, new class, rather than like testing an old legacy thing, although there are benefits there as well. So let's say we have a simple encoding function. Don't worry about the implementation, but just look at the examples. We see here we pass a string like Matt, and it encodes it to like M1, A1, T2. There's 2 T's. Again with hello, H1, E1, then L2, because there's 2 L's. Very simple encoding function. So we want to test it with Hypothesis. So a typical hypothesis test starts out with this given decorator, and you pass in something called a strategy. Now, we say that the encoding function can take any kind of string. So we pass in the string, the text strategy that Hypothesis will generate test cases for us. And we can see down below that here's like an example kind of run of Hypothesis. So like, oh, it'll test ABC. That's a basic string. Okay, you say you can test strings, empty strings. Let's test an empty string. What about an escape character? You say you accept a string, so let's test an escape character. What about these weird Unicode kind of files? Or what about another basic string, but then we repeat the test case because there might be some state management issues you have. So Hypothesis is really good at testing your assumptions because you say your code works with this domain of kind of input, and Hypothesis will really test if that's actually true. So in this case, this is a very basic smoke test, basically. We're not actually testing anything against the output. So we're just throwing stuff on the wall. And in this case, we find, Hypothesis finds an empty string fails. We don't need to worry about the implementation details, but an empty string fails because we didn't actually account for that. And in this case, we just catch it. We just short circuit an empty case, and just return an empty list here. So we can actually test what do we know that the output should look like. In this case, type checking kind of stuff, basically. So we know that the encoding function should return a list. So we set it as a list, and then we check every item in that list is a tuple, is a level 2. The first part of the tuple is a string, the second part is an int. And we do that test, and we find out that just even A doesn't work. And so we found this out because you can see here the character count pairs is 1A rather than A1. So, don't worry about implementation details, but we fixed the code. So we're iterating with Hypothesis. It's really useful just to find, you're just testing your assumptions throughout the process. Here we've got round trip testing. So, let's say you've got a decode kind of function. So you can basically go back to the original input And see here, decode mat, or M1, A1, T2 becomes mats, and so on and so forth. And we can actually use that in a test. So why don't we test that the original input actually equates to the decode of the encode. And in this case, we find another failing example where A fails again, but it fails in a different way this time because we added more things to test about A. And in this case, for some reason, we get 2 A's. And in this case, it's just a simple bug in our code. I think the biggest benefit of hypothesis, if you can find something like a really well-tested kind of existing implementation. So let's say there's a really good Pythonic kind of implementation of the code you're already writing, but you're trying to create it, you're trying to make it more quick with like Rust or using GPUs or something like that. And so that's why we do comparison testing. And so you have this REST implementation and you find out what the output of this really well-tested package is. You're relying on the prior art, all the expertise in that package, and you're testing it against the result of your own. And you see the benefits where if you're throwing all these different kind of text values, or hypothesis can go crazy, anything you can think of, it can probably produce test cases for and find really interesting edge cases, especially with relational kind of schema kind of data, stuff like that. So that's hypothesis. Not really an explanation of how it works, but trying to show that it can be beneficial. So instead of like unit testing, you can specify the range of inputs rather than known inputs. So that's kind of a property-based testing, basically. So we're testing our assumptions and what they look like. So if we specify tests, what about empty strings? What about non-English characters? It's a very simple example, though, although Unicode can be, I don't know if people have worked with Unicode, can be a nightmare. But what about floats? Like you can accept any floating point number, but then can you accept nands? Can you accept infinities? Negative zeros, subnormals? Hypothesis will probably show you things that you haven't even thought of, and that's what the real power with hypothesis. So yeah, it's just testing our assumptions and just seeing, what we think our code can work with. Can it really work with? It's way quicker than an LLM. You can ask an LLM to create you loads of test cases, and that can be really useful. But hypothesis, I would always start with hypothesis when I'm, making new code, basically. So yeah, that's hypothesis. Feel free to ask me any questions after this about it. So yeah. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. In case you cannot already tell, I'm very nervous because I have never given a lightning talk. But I also have no slides prepared because I've only come to talk about community building. We have just started a community in Hall. It is a local Pydata community, and I've just come to talk about some of the things I think worked and surprisingly did not work for our community. And like I said, we only started in January of this year, so we're just like the baby of NumFOCUS. And I've only had 6 months of organizing Pydata Hall. And I would say that some of the interesting things is I thought that would have to analyze metrics and think of speakers. And someone talked about speakers being some of the hardest things of organizing, but I would say no. Hall has had the opportunity of having an academic community. So we have speakers, we have PhD professionals, but our major problem was retention. And I thought that if we advertised enough, we'd have enough people who just come and want to come again. I was very wrong. So I started to analyze advertising, not really, but retention. What can we do to make people want to come again? And I can tell you it was confidence, it was trust, but most importantly, it was networking. It was people who felt like they saw people who was building the same project as them, and they had conversations with them after the meetup, and they could come again. So all of the 35 minutes, 45 minutes of speaking, it was important, but not really. It was majorly what they could talk about after the meetup. So I'm here to just say that I've seen people who are Pydata organizers here. Pydata Amsterdam, Pydata, there was someone I talked about, Milton Keynes, Pydata Bradford. I'm just here to say that as much as you want to boost up the numbers, you want to have speakers, you want to have sponsors, you also want to have a very good networking community. That's all I came to share. Nothing serious, nothing special, just to say, encourage everyone who's also building a local Pydata community and say thank you for all the support from Hugh Evans, who also came to Hall recently to talk to us. If you want to talk, if you want to give a speaking session, if you are somewhere around the north of England, please do not look at Hull as a local city in North England. Please come pay us a visit. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody. I think you did a great introduction, so I don't have to. Thank you. Yeah, I did bring slides. I literally made them half an hour ago without having had coffee before on the stock train. So as somebody yesterday so lovely said, let's see how that turned out. I'm going to lightning talks are always a great opportunity to have a bit of fun and talk about the less serious things that you might or might not have been up to. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to talk about how I built a digital cookbook with Obsidian and Claude. So probably first of all, why a digital cookbook? Well, first, so I wouldn't say I like cooking, but I like eating, which requires cooking. So somehow I need some inspiration. My recipes are all over the place. So there are family recipes, cookbooks, the ever-present internet stuff with people's life stories attached to them, photographs, and to top it all, it's like everywhere distributed. And to top it all off, I've lived in 3 countries, so they're not even all in the same language. It's just a mess. So what do you do? Well, here are some requirements that I have for my cookbooks. So first of all, I wanted something that lives on my own machine but can be accessed from anywhere. I want something that's written in a portable format, so no vendor login. And I wanted something that allows me to sort my recipes in a way that is suitable for me now but can still be maintained in the future if I change my mind, which I do quite frequently. And then I wanted a workflow that allows me to standardize all my recipe data from different sources. We talked about the different sources into a common format, and that preferably enables me to easily translate my recipes on the way. So if I want my German recipe, I can give it to my partner and say, you cook tonight and you cook that, thank you. And no excuses because it's in English. All right, so what is the solution that I came up with? So solution for me was a combination of Obsidian and Claude. So that's where the data part comes in. So I use Obsidian as a recipe store. Obsidian, for those of you who don't know it, it's quite popular in the second brain community. It's a front-end application which is available for all major operating systems. It uses Markdown files as its backend, which live on your local file system, and then you can sync across wherever you want it. It supports a vast ecosystem of plugins, so it's future-proof, and really importantly, it supports YAML front matter, and then allows you to query it using something it's called the data query language, data view query language, which you are all familiar with because it basically is SQL. So, and then I combine that with a Claude recipe skill for my workflow, which passes my recipe images into text data, translates the recipes into English if required, and then standardizes the whole recipe data and into a structured format. Predefined template. And then I also wanted to analyze my recipe data and tag it appropriately when it passes, so I don't have to worry about all of the tagging so much. So how does it look in practice? So here's my YAML front matter structure. You can see tags, recipe, whatever category you want, serves, prep time, cook time, source, whatever you would expect from a cookbook. That's the front matter structure, and then this is how the recipe look like, really, really boiled down to the basics of what you want. All right, and then I wrote a Claude skill that basically says, here's the instruction and here are the rules, right? Take whatever I dump into you, pass it. If it's an image, pass it into text, and then here's some explanation. All right, cool. So this is all of the stuff. You take it, you copy and paste, you photograph, whatever you want, dump it in, and get a markdown out. Take off all of your markdowns, dump them into your Obsidian vault, which is fancy word for folder, and then it's there, and then you just need to write your query about it. And the fancy thing, as we all know with SQL, right? So this is basically your backend database. Now you just write your query, right? This is said, if you know any SQL, that sounds really familiar. So you write that thing into a markdown file itself, and then it does all of the heavy lifting for you. So it goes through your folder, finds all your stuff, looks through all of your files, and then puts them all together nicely. And that's kind of how it looks like. So you can have some nice images with it, and yeah, so you're vegetarian or fish or whatever categories you want. And you can put stars in it. So I have stars, and I have running time, I have prep time, I have my sauce, whatever you like. And yeah, as I said, it lives on my computer. This is a screenshot. I'm not going to show you the rest because clearly it's in my second brain, so there's lots of other stuff in it. But so yeah, this lives on my computer where I can use it with Claude really easily, or I can just put it in my kitchen. It also lives on my phone, and everything syncs automatically, so I can take it to Germany, I can take it to England. Somebody wants to say, can you cook something for me? It's like, yeah, sure, I'll have a look. And yeah, you can do, and if I want to, at some point I want to slice it differently, I'll slice it differently because it is just SQL, and it's really convenient. And I wish I was cooking more, but well, that's next steps, I guess. Right, thank you.
All right, so I thought I would have slides, but I don't. Clap your hands once if you can hear me. Twice if you can hear me. Okay, all right, you guys are caffeinated and awake. Since so many of you all are Pydata organizers, I'll spare you the spiel of Okay, let me calm down. I just had my first cup of coffee, so my jitters are a little high. So how many of you guys already know what NumFOCUS does? Okay, a lot of y'all. So I'll spare you the spiel that, we represent over 70 sponsored open source projects. I'll save you that. I'll also spare you the spiel that we also have over 80 affiliated projects in our ecosystem. And I'll also spare you the spiel that NumFOCUS is powered by supporters, maintainers, and community organizers and corporate sponsors like yourself, right? So with your continued support, we can continue to service and sustain the projects within our ecosystem. But I'm not here to tell you all that. That's just my regular pitch. We have recently launched a new initiative called Give Me 5. And Give Me 5 is an initiative where we are spotlighting the humans behind the tools in which we represent. We have a couple of people that are in this room that are featured in our episode so far, and you might be one of the next ones. So if I had slides, I'd have a QR code where you could scan and find us on YouTube. But if you have your phone, just go to YouTube, type in Pydata, and make sure you're subscribed, because that's where we're releasing each episode. Again, Give Me 5 is really an opportunity to humanize the work that everyone is doing behind the tools, behind the communities you're organizing. And also, we've done a good job of elevating our community, but not elevating the stories within our community. So each episode, you'll find out how a person journeyed from whether it's uni to what they're currently building. You'll also find out what advice they might have for new people entering the space, or even themselves when they were younger, and then, of course, hot takes on AI and just perspective in general. So I invite you, make sure, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pydata. And yeah, last thing I'll say, we're also doing like a quick 1-minute recap of Pydata London this weekend. So find me at the NumFOCUS booth if you're interested in giving me your 1-minute recap, or being one of our future guests on Give Me 5. So thank y'all.